The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. In the bustling marketplace of Mumbai, vendors hawked their wares, their voices blending with the rhythmic hum of traffic. A young boy, his face lit by the warm glow of a street lamp, chased after a runaway kite, its vibrant colors disappearing into the deepening twilight. This was life on Earth, a symphony of sights, sounds, and smells, a tapestry woven from cultures as diverse as the stars themselves. But the symphony was about to be disrupted. Professor Silas Chen, a man whose brow was perpetually furrowed in thought, stood on the balcony of his rooftop apartment in Mumbai, gazing at the stars. He was renowned for his contributions to astrophysics, his mind constantly probing the mysteries of the cosmos. But tonight, a sense of unease settled upon him. "Silas, are you coming?" his wife, Anjali, called from inside. She was a vibrant woman, her laughter as infectious as the spices wafting from the kitchen. Silas turned, a weary smile gracing his lips. "Coming, my love," just admiring the night sky. He felt an inexplicable chill despite the warmth of the city lights. "There's something off." Anjali joined him, her hand finding his. "What's wrong, Silas?" "I don't know. Maybe it's just the anticipation. You know how everyone's been talking about the planet eaters." Anjali's smile faded. The news was filled with reports about the approaching alien race, their reputation as ruthless planet devourers preceding them like a harbinger of doom. "It's just a story, Silas. We've always had stories, haven't we?" Anjali said, squeezing his hand. "True," Silas muttered. "But this one feels different. It feels real." The news reports were just whispers at this point, blurry images picked up by distant observatories, faint readings on instruments that scientists struggled to decipher. But Silas, with his keen intellect and his restless intuition, felt a rising sense of dread. He knew the stories attributed to the planet eaters were not mere legends. He had spent his life studying anomalies, cosmic events that defied explanation. The stories whispered by ancient civilizations, tales of celestial beings consuming worlds, were not so far-fetched after all. "Don't worry, Silas," Anjali said softly, pulling him closer. "We'll be fine. We have each other." Silas nodded, but he didn't feel the comfort he usually found in her embrace. He wanted to believe her, but the fear gnawing at him was growing stronger by the minute. The whispers from the cosmos, once faint and distant, were growing louder. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, in the sprawling military base of Fort Carson, Colorado, Captain Amelia Sharma sat in her office. The air buzzed with a sense of urgency as reports came in, each one more unsettling than the last. The planet eaters were real, and they were headed towards Earth. Amelia, a woman of steely resolve and unflinching determination, was the seasoned military strategist tasked with defending the planet. Her face, etched with the lines of years spent on the front lines, was a mask of grim concentration. "The latest reports estimate their arrival in 4 weeks," said a young lieutenant, his voice barely a whisper. Amelia's eyes scanned the data displayed on the screens. Images of the planet eaters' ships, vast and menacing, filled the room. They were colossal, sleek vessels, each one a testament to advanced technology far surpassing Earth's own. "We're outmatched," the lieutenant stated grimly. Amelia knew he was right. Earth's technology was centuries behind that of the planet eaters. Their weapons were rudimentary compared to the aliens, their defense systems hopelessly inadequate. The planet's only hope lay in its diversity, its ability to adapt and innovate. "We have to prepare," Amelia said, her voice resolute. "We have to make the most of what we have. We need to find a way to fight back, no matter how slim the odds." She knew the task was daunting. But Amelia Sharma was not a woman who backed down from a challenge. She had spent her life on the front lines, battling enemies far more formidable than these cosmic invaders, and she was determined to defend her home, her planet, her Earth. The first whispers of the planet eaters had reached Earth. A symphony of fear was about to replace the symphony of life. The stage was set for the battle of a lifetime, a battle for the very existence of humanity, And as the world watched in terror, Amelia, Silas, and millions like them were about to find out what they were truly made of. The news of the approaching planet eaters had spread like wildfire, igniting a collective fear across the globe. Amelia, her eyes glued to the holographic map projecting the trajectory of the alien vessel, felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. The planet's military, despite its vast resources, was woefully unprepared for such a technologically advanced enemy. Their weapons, designed for conventional warfare, were mere toys against the looming threat. "It's not just their technology," Professor Silas Chen murmured, his voice tinged with despair. The astrophysicist, usually a beacon of calm rationality, was visibly shaken. He scrolled through a series of images, showcasing the ravaged planets left in the planet eater's wake. "They are relentless, Amelia. They consume entire planets, leaving nothing but dust and silence." Amelia, however, refused to succumb to despair. "We have to fight," she declared, her voice ringing with resolute conviction. "We may be outmatched, but we are not outgunned. We have the ingenuity, the resolve, the sheer will to survive. We will not go down without a fight." Lieutenant Kaito Tanaka, a young pilot with a fiery spirit, nodded in agreement. "We'll use what we have, Captain. We'll adapt, innovate, and make them regret picking a fight with Earth." His eyes held a fierce optimism, a belief in humanity's ability to overcome even the seemingly impossible. But General Alexander Volkov, the seasoned veteran, remained cautious. His face, etched with the lines of countless battles and the burden of protecting a fragile planet, was a mask of concern. "We are facing an enemy we know nothing about, Alexander," he warned. "We must proceed with caution. Every decision we make could be our last." Silas, however, was already deep in research, his mind churning with a desperate need to understand the enemy. He spent sleepless nights poring over ancient texts, historical records, and forgotten lore. A nagging feeling, an intuition, guided his research. It was a hunch, a flicker of hope amidst the looming darkness. One evening, as the news reports painted a bleak picture of the approaching doom, Silas stumbled upon a forgotten artifact in the archives of the British Museum. It was a weathered, intricately carved wooden box, its surface adorned with symbols that evoked a forgotten language. The inscription accompanying it read, "A legacy of the forgotten, a weapon against the consuming darkness." Hope flared in Silas's heart like a dying ember in the cold wind. Could this be the answer, the key to defeating the planet eaters? Could this forgotten artifact, a testament to humanity's rich history, be the weapon they needed to survive? As Silas delved deeper into the box's secrets, the world held its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash. The planet eaters, an unstoppable force of destruction, were on their way, and Earth stood at the precipice of oblivion. The question was, would this forgotten weapon, an echo of humanity's past, be enough to turn the tide? The air hung thick with a metallic tang, the scent of ozone clinging to the air like a shroud. The colossal, obsidian ship loomed above the besieged city, its silhouette casting an ominous shadow over the shimmering skyline. The ground trembled with each blast of energy, tearing through the city like a razor through cloth, leaving behind smoldering ruins and the ghostly echoes of screams. Amelia Sharma, her face grim but resolute, scanned the chaotic battlefield unfolding beneath her. The planet eaters' ships moved with an alien grace, their sleek metallic forms darting through the air, their weapons spitting fire like angry dragons. Earth's defenses, though valiant, were failing. Their outdated technology, designed for planetary defense, was no match for the sophisticated weaponry of the newcomers. "Captain," the voice crackled through her calm, "we're losing ground. Their energy weapons are too powerful." It was Lieutenant Kaito Tanaka, his voice tight with a mixture of fear and grim determination. Despite his youthful appearance, Kaito was a pilot of exceptional skill, his nerves as steady as his hands. Amelia clenched her jaw. "Hold your position, Lieutenant. We're working on a countermeasure." Her stomach twisted with a knot of anxiety. The planet eaters were relentless, their attacks precise and devastating. Each blast of their energy weapons felt like a blow to Earth's heart. She turned to her second-in-command, General Volkov, his weathered face etched with the weight of responsibility and years of service. "We need to buy time, General. Get the civilians to the underground bunkers. It's our only chance." Volkov nodded curtly, his eyes reflecting the flickering flames of the burning city. "Will do, Captain, but I fear it's not enough." Amelia stared at the advancing enemy, her heart heavy with the weight of their desperate situation. The Planet Eaters were more than just a military threat. They were a symbol of an ancient terror, a reminder of the dark stories her people had whispered in hushed tones for generations. Legends of a race that consumed planets whole, their insatiable hunger leaving behind only dust and empty echoes. A tremor shook the ground, the obsidian vessel spitting another volley of energy. Amelia's eyes narrowed, her gaze drawn to a flicker of light emanating from the heart of the city, an incongruous beacon amidst the chaos. It seemed almost familiar. A spark of hope, however faint, ignited within her. "General," she said, her voice firm, "I have a plan, but it's a long shot." Volkov raised his brow, a flicker of curiosity crossing his face. "Tell me, Captain." Amelia took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the distant light. "It's time we remembered what we're fighting for. It's time we fought back." Professor Silas Chen stood before the smoldering ruins of the city's art museum, his heart a leaden weight in his chest. The once magnificent structure, housing centuries of artistic treasures, was now a twisted monument to the Planet Eaters' brutality. Painters, sculptors, musicians all gone, their voices silenced, their creations turned to dust. "Professor Chen," a voice called from behind. It was Dr. Eiko Sato, his colleague and friend, her face drawn with worry. Silas turned, his gaze meeting hers. "Eiko, I can't believe this is happening." He choked back a sob, his mind reeling from the carnage before him. He had dedicated his life to understanding the universe, to unraveling its mysteries. Yet he felt utterly helpless in the face of this cosmic terror. "Silas, we have to focus. We can't let this break us." Eiko reached out to touch his arm, her touch a comforting warmth in the midst of the cold despair. Silas nodded, forcing himself to regain his composure. "You're right. I have to find the artifact. It's our only hope." Eiko's brows furrowed. "The artifact? Professor, do you think it will really work?" There was doubt in her voice, but also a glimmer of hope. Silas stared at the museum's ruins, the memory of the artifact's inscription flashing before his eyes. It was a relic from a forgotten war, a weapon left behind by a long-lost civilization that had faced a similar, terrifying enemy. A weapon built on the very essence of their art, their culture, their humanity. "I have to believe," Silas said, his voice hoarse. "We have to find a way, Eiko. For our species, for our planet, for every artist who ever painted a dream on a canvas, for every musician who ever poured their heart into a melody, for every soul that ever dared to imagine a better world." He turned towards the rubble, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. He had to find it, this artifact, this relic of hope, this last chance for humanity. He had to find it, not just for his species, but for the echo of every lost artist, every forgotten dream, every whispered hope for a better tomorrow. The battle above continued, a relentless dance of light and fire, a symphony of destruction and despair. But beneath the smoke, Silas's heart whispered of a defiance that refused to be extinguished, a resilience that refused to be broken. For deep within the heart of humanity, a spark of hope still flickered, a beacon of light in the darkness, fueled by the art that had been stolen, the dreams that had been shattered, and the defiance that refused to be defeated. The sky above Los Angeles, once a canvas for swirling clouds and vibrant sunsets, was now dominated by a colossal, obsidian shadow. The mothership, a behemoth of metal and alien technology, hung heavy in the atmosphere, a stark reminder of the encroaching doom. Its presence cast an eerie twilight over the city, turning the midday sun into a pale, sickly disk. Amelia stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed West Coast Defense Headquarters, overlooking the city that once pulsed with life. Now, it was a ghost town, its streets deserted, buildings shrouded in a chilling silence. The fear that had gripped the city was palpable, a silent scream echoing through the empty avenues. "We're losing them," a voice rasped, breaking through the oppressive silence. It was Alexander, his normally stoic face a mask of weariness. "Their ships are too fast, too agile. We're simply outmatched." Amelia sighed, her gaze fixed on the mothership's silhouette. "We knew that going in, General, but we can't afford to lose hope. We have to find a way to fight back, to even the odds." "And how do you propose we do that?" Alexander challenged, his voice laced with frustration. "With scraps and prayers." Amelia turned to him, her eyes flashing with a fierce resolve. "With everything we have, General, with every ounce of ingenuity, every spark of courage that resides within our hearts. We don't have the technology to match them, but we have something they don't. We have humanity." Her words, though laced with conviction, rang hollow in the face of the overwhelming threat. The world's militaries, once a symbol of power and security, were struggling to hold their ground against a foe whose technology seemed to defy all understanding. The Planet Eaters had shown no mercy, their attacks swift, brutal, and devastatingly effective. "We're running out of time," Alexander stated, his voice a low growl. "And Silas is no closer to activating his artifact." "We'll keep pushing, General." "We have to," Amelia insisted. "Silas is working tirelessly, and Kaido is determined to make that artifact work. We just need to hold on a little longer." The truth, however, was that Amelia wasn't so sure. The grim reality of their situation was beginning to weigh heavily on her. Even her unwavering belief in humanity was wavering under the weight of the mothership's shadow. A sudden tremor shook the observation deck, sending a wave of unease through the room. Alexander quickly moved to a console, his face grim as he scanned the incoming data stream. "They're activating their weapon," he announced, his voice tense. "It's targeting the Pacific Fleet. We're going to lose them all." Amelia felt a pang of fear, not for herself, but for the brave men and women who were fighting for their planet. They were her soldiers, her brothers and sisters in arms, and now they were about to face a weapon capable of turning their ships into scrap metal. "We have to warn them," she said, her voice urgent. "But how? We can't get through their comms." Alexander shook his head, a dark cloud settling over his face. "They've jammed our signals. There's nothing we can do." As the tremor intensified, the ground beneath them began to shudder violently. Amelia watched as the mothership, now a giant, menacing eye in the sky, unleashed a bolt of energy so powerful it split the sky in two. The earth shook, buildings crumbled, and the ocean churned into a frothing mass. Amelia closed her eyes, her heart heavy with the weight of the devastation. The Pacific Fleet was lost. The Planet Eaters were relentless, their technology a weapon of unimaginable destruction, and they had only just begun. As the tremors subsided, Amelia opened her eyes, her gaze fixed on the mothership, a terrifying symbol of the alien power that threatened to consume their world. The fight for survival had just begun, and humanity, for the first time in its history, faced the terrifying prospect of extinction. The crimson glow of the approaching fleet painted the sky a sickly hue, a stark contrast to the once familiar blue. Panic, like a virus, spread across the globe, weaving its way through bustling city streets, quiet villages, and even the most secluded mountaintops. It didn't matter where you were, the Earth's imminent doom was a chilling reality. Amelia Sharma, a woman whose steely gaze had faced countless crises and averted countless disasters, felt a knot of fear tighten in her stomach. Despite her years of experience, the sheer size and destructive power of the approaching fleet overwhelmed even her seasoned heart. Her ship, the Vanguard, buzzed with nervous energy. The crew, a mix of seasoned soldiers and enthusiastic recruits, moved with a tense efficiency, preparing for the inevitable clash. Captain Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka, a young pilot with eyes that burned with determination, reported from the bridge. "Their ships are emitting a powerful energy signature. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. It's unnatural." Amelia nodded grimly, her gaze fixed on the growing threat in the distance. The reports say their technology is far beyond ours. They consume entire planets, leaving nothing but dust and silence. We're facing a foe we are utterly unprepared for. The news echoed the captain's sentiment. Earth's defenses were a patchwork quilt of outdated technology and hastily constructed fortifications. Their weapons were primitive compared to the sleek, alien vessels that approached, their hulls shimmering with an eerie, otherworldly light. "Professor Chen?" Amelia's voice broke through the metallic hum of the ship. Silas Chen, a frail man with kind eyes and a mind that had delved into the depths of the universe, responded from the science lab, his voice laced with a melancholic calm. "They are here, Captain. The Planet Eaters." He had been the first to decipher the alien signal, a jarring dissonance in the cosmic symphony. The knowledge had haunted him ever since. Images of ravaged planets, their vibrant ecosystems reduced to barren wastelands, flashed before his eyes. Amelia knew the weight of responsibility Silas carried. He had known them, the Planet Eaters, for years, their monstrous power a constant shadow over his scientific endeavors. He saw the fear and desperation in the captain's eyes. "What can we do?" Amelia's voice was barely a whisper. "We fight," Silas replied, his voice firm, a spark of determination flickering in his eyes. "We fight with everything we have. We fight with our ingenuity, our courage, and our hope in humanity." The first contact was a shockwave of pure destruction. The Planet Eaters unleashed a barrage of energy beams, vaporizing entire military installations in a blink of an eye. Earth's defenses crumbled, their efforts futile against such overwhelming firepower. Amelia watched the carnage unfold, her heart heavy with grief and a growing sense of despair. But amidst the chaos, she saw a flicker of defiance, a tiny, silver spaceship, a speck against the looming alien threat, soaring towards the heart of the enemy fleet. It was Kaito Tanaka, defying the odds, his heart filled with an unwavering faith in humanity's potential. "He's insane," the communications officer shouted, his voice filled with disbelief. "He's going to be vaporized." Amelia watched with a mix of fear and awe as Kaito's ship, a tiny glimmer of defiance, flew into the gaping maw of the enemy threat, a lone warrior against a monstrous horde. "It's a suicide mission," Amelia muttered, a pang of dread twisting in her gut. But even in the face of such overwhelming odds, she knew, deep down, that Kaito's sacrifice would be a beacon of hope, a reminder that humanity would never surrender. And amidst the chaos, a single thought echoed in her mind: "We are not going down without a fight." The air crackled with a tension that could be tasted, a bitter metallic tang that lingered on the tongue. It wasn't just the looming threat of the Planet Eaters, their colossal ships casting long shadows across the earth. It was the weight of a collective fear, a shared realization that the world they knew was irrevocably changed. Amelia stood on the deck of the Earth's flagship, the Hope, its once gleaming hull now scarred and weathered from the initial bombardment. She surveyed the horizon, where a ragged line of smaller ships, cobbled together from repurposed civilian vessels, stood ready. They were a testament to humanity's ingenuity, a desperate attempt to match the Planet Eaters' superior firepower with sheer numbers and a desperate will to survive. "We're gathering what we can," reported Lieutenant Kaito Tanaka, his voice crackling through the comm system. His youthful enthusiasm tempered by a newfound gravity, he stood before a makeshift control panel, his fingers dancing across the dials with a practiced ease. "But the reality is, Captain, we're still outmatched." Amelia knew he was right. The Planet Eaters' technology was beyond anything humanity had ever conceived. Their weapons seemed to defy the laws of physics, their ships maneuvered with impossible grace. Their very presence radiated an aura of cold, calculated power. It was a power she felt deep inside her bones, a primal fear that whispered of annihilation. "We have to find a way to level the playing field," she said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her chest. "And I think Professor Chen might have the answer." The thought of Silas Chen offered a flicker of hope in the otherwise bleak situation. He was a man of quiet brilliance, a brilliant astrophysicist whose knowledge of the Planet Eaters was both frightening and inspiring. It was Silas who had uncovered the existence of the Timekeeper, a relic of a lost civilization, a weapon whispered about in ancient texts, a weapon that could potentially disrupt the Planet Eater's technology. Amelia descended to the bowels of the Hope, where a makeshift laboratory had been hastily constructed. Silas was hunched over a table, his back to her, his weathered face illuminated by the flickering light of a makeshift scanner. He didn't need to turn to see her. "Amelia, you're here for the Timekeeper." His voice was laced with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "It's a formidable weapon, but its activation, it's complex." He gestured to a device fashioned from antique materials, its surface covered in intricate carvings that seemed to writhe with unseen energy. It was an object of both beauty and menace, a testament to the ingenuity of a forgotten civilization. "Any progress?" Amelia asked, her voice a strained whisper. Silas straightened, his eyes meeting hers. "I've deciphered the basic principles, enough to understand its potential. But the activation sequence requires a specific frequency, a frequency that resonates with Earth's history." His words echoed with a profound sadness, a recognition of humanity's limitations, of the fragility of their existence. Yet there was also a hint of hope, a glimmer of defiance in his eyes. He wasn't just a scientist. He was a man with a depth of understanding that transcended equations and data. "History," Amelia echoed, her mind racing. "Our history. The music, the art, the literature. Could those be the frequencies we need?" Silas nodded slowly. "It's a wild theory, but a theory worth exploring. We are, after all, a species defined by our stories." Amelia felt a surge of inspiration. Earth's history, its tapestry of different cultures, its resilience in the face of adversity, was the key. It was a weapon of hope, of unity, and it was time to unleash it. "Kaido," she said through the calm, her voice echoing across the deck of the Hope. "We're ready to test the Timekeeper. Prepare for launch." The young lieutenant's voice crackled back, tinged with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "It's time, Captain." The echoes of the past were about to resound, a symphony of human resilience against the relentless symphony of the Planet Eater's destruction. The battle for Earth had just begun, and the outcome depended on a weapon forged not from steel, but from the very essence of humanity. The sky above Tokyo was a canvas of fiery streaks, each a testament to the relentless bombardment by the Planet Eater's warships. The city, once a vibrant hub of technology and culture, now bore the scars of a brutal conflict. The once towering skyscrapers, symbols of human ambition, lay shattered and smoldering, their metallic skeletons twisted and burnt. Amelia, her face grim, but her gaze unwavering, surveyed the devastation from the command center of the newly established Global Defense Network. Around her, a diverse team of strategists, engineers, and scientists worked feverishly, their faces reflecting the growing desperation. "We're losing ground, Captain," reported Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka, his voice strained but his eyes burning with determination. "Their firepower is too much for our defenses. We need a new strategy, and soon." Amelia, her heart heavy with the weight of responsibility, nodded slowly. She had known the situation would be dire, but the reality was far more brutal than she had anticipated. The Planet Eater's technology was far beyond anything Earth had ever encountered. Their ships moved with an unsettling grace, their weapons capable of pulverizing concrete and metal with chilling efficiency. She glanced at General Volkov, his face etched with the burden of years spent safeguarding his nation. He was a man of action, but even his unwavering resolve seemed to crack under the relentless onslaught. "Professor Chen," Amelia addressed the man hunched over a holographic display, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Any progress on the artifact?" Silas Chen, the astrophysicist who had unearthed the weapon, looked up, his eyes filled with fatigue. "The artifact is complex," he explained, his voice raspy. "It's not a weapon in the traditional sense. It's more like a catalyst, a key to unlock something within ourselves, something we've forgotten." "Forgotten?" Amelia pressed, her voice laced with skepticism. "What do you mean?" Silas hesitated, then turned to face the room, his gaze sweeping over the faces of the gathered specialists. This artifact, it responds to emotions, to shared experiences, to the collective spirit of humanity. It's a weapon forged from the very fabric of our history, our art, our struggles, our love. It's a weapon of unity. Amelia's eyebrows shot up in disbelief. A weapon of unity? Are you saying we need to sing to them? Silas smiled faintly, a touch of melancholy in his eyes. No, Captain, not sing. But we must remember, we must create. We must remind the planet eaters of what they've lost, of the beauty they've destroyed. We must show them the power of human connection, the strength of our collective spirit. Kaido, ever the optimist, stepped forward, his face alight with newfound hope. Professor, are you saying we can use this artifact to communicate with them? Perhaps, Silas replied, his gaze turning to Kaido. Or perhaps we can simply remind them of what they are destroying, remind them of what they have forgotten. A wave of uncertainty swept through the room, but amidst the fear and despair, a flicker of hope ignited. Perhaps, after all, there was a way to fight back, a way to show the planet eaters the true strength of humanity. As the sirens wailed outside, signaling another wave of enemy attacks, Amelia felt a surge of defiance. She had never believed in miracles, but in this moment, she clung to the faint possibility that Silas Chen's seemingly absurd theory might be the key to their survival. This was not a fight they could win with brute force alone. They needed a new weapon, a weapon that resonated with the very soul of humanity. The symphony of steel might be louder, but the symphony of the human spirit could be far more powerful. The air hung heavy with the scent of ozone and burning metal. The once familiar skyline of London was now a jagged tableau of twisted steel and smoldering rubble, a stark testament to the planet eater's brutal efficiency. Through the smoke-choked sky, streaks of crimson fire arced across the heavens, each flare a reminder of the relentless assault from the invaders. Captain Amelia Sharma, her face grimy and her eyes bloodshot, surveyed the carnage from the rooftop of a shattered skyscraper. The air buzzed with a chatter of comms, a symphony of desperate pleas and urgent orders. Amidst the chaos, Amelia felt a familiar tightness in her chest, a knot of fear and frustration that refused to dissipate. "Captain," a voice barked through her comms, "we're losing ground in the city. Their drones are swarming the perimeter." It was Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka, his voice strained but resolute. Amelia clenched her jaw, her gaze fixed on the approaching swarm of metallic insects. Each drone buzzed with a chilling, mechanical hum, their metallic bodies shimmering with a sickly green glow. They were relentless, their attacks precise and devastating. "Hold your position, Kaido," Amelia ordered, her voice calm despite the turmoil within. "We're bringing in reinforcements. Keep your eyes on the sky, anything could come at you." She knew she was buying time, hoping for a miracle. Earth's technology had proven woefully inadequate against the planet eaters' advanced weaponry. Their ships were mobile citadels, raining down destruction with chilling efficiency. The only hope lay in the weapon Silas had discovered, a relic from Earth's distant past. Amelia's gaze flickered towards the horizon, where the fading light of a setting sun cast a melancholic glow on the ravaged cityscape. As she watched the flames dance in the wind, a poignant melody played in her mind, a song from her grandmother, a lullaby from a time when Earth was whole. The melody, a bittersweet reminder of her lost world, brought a flicker of hope to her weary heart. Suddenly, her comms crackled with a wave of static, followed by Kaido's voice, his tone tight with urgency. "Captain, I've got something. The artifact, it's reacting." Amelia's heart skipped a beat. The weapon Silas had discovered, a seemingly impossible weapon against the planet eater's technology, the only chance for survival. "Kaido, tell me everything. What's happening?" "I don't know, Captain," Kaido gasped, his voice thick with disbelief. "It's pulsing, vibrating, like it's calling out." A tremor ran through the ground. The sky seemed to shimmer, the air thickening with a strange energy. The drones around Kaido faltered, their movements becoming erratic and chaotic. Amelia, her mind racing, felt a glimmer of hope pierce the gloom. Could this be it? Could Salus's discovery, a weapon forged from Earth's forgotten history, be the key to turning the tide? With a renewed sense of purpose, Amelia focused on her comms. She could hear the distant roar of approaching engines, familiar to every Earthling. The reinforcements, their arrival a flicker of defiance against the bleakness of their situation. "Kaido," Amelia spoke, her voice firm. "Hold on. Help is coming. And remember, Earth's resilience knows no bounds. We will fight." The air echoed with the sound of approaching engines, and a surge of hope filled Amelia's heart. For despite the overwhelming odds, Earth, with its vibrant tapestry of cultures and its enduring spirit, refused to yield. The fight, however desperate, was far from over. The acrid stench of burnt metal and ozone lingered in the air, a grim testament to the planet-eaters' relentless assault. Earth's defenses, once a beacon of technological prowess, had crumbled like sandcastles in the face of the alien invaders' firepower. The sky, once a canvas of vibrant blues, was now marred by streaks of black smoke and the pulsating glow of energy shields. Captain Amelia Sharma, her face etched with exhaustion and worry, surveyed the scene from the command center of her battered flagship. The news was dire. The Planet Eater's flagship, a colossal vessel that seemed to dwarf even the largest starships humanity had ever built, was poised to deliver a final, devastating strike. Their advanced technology, fueled by an inhuman hunger for entire planets, seemed insurmountable. "They're preparing to unleash another powerful beam," reported Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka, his voice tense. He had spent days poring over the stolen technology, a desperate attempt to understand their enemy's weaponry. "This time, it's going to be much bigger, much more destructive." "We need to evacuate the remaining civilians," Amelia ordered, her voice tight with composure. "But the escape pods are overloaded and—" "There's no time for evacuation," Silas Chen, the astrophysicist, interjected, his gaze fixed on the screens displaying the Planet Eater's ship. His voice, usually filled with gentle wisdom, now carried a grim urgency. "They're targeting the core of the weapon. If they destroy it, all our efforts will be wasted." The weapon, a culmination of Silas's research and Kaido's ingenuity, was their last hope. It was built using an ancient artifact discovered deep within the archives of the Louvre, a relic from a forgotten civilization that had possessed technology far beyond humanity's comprehension. The artifact, a shimmering sphere of obsidian, pulsed with a faint, almost ethereal light, promising a power that could defy the odds. "We can't let them destroy it," Kaido said, his eyes blazing with defiance. "We have to fight back." "Fight? With what, Kaido?" Amelia challenged. "We're outmatched, outgunned. We're on the brink of extinction." "We still have the weapon," Kaido insisted, his voice rising. "We have to find a way to use it, to disrupt their technology, before it's too late." Silas spoke, his voice soft but resolute. "The weapon draws its power from Earth's history, from its unique cultural diversity, from its very soul. We have to find a way to amplify its potential, to unleash its full power." As the Planet Eater's ship began its charge, a strange feeling washed over Amelia. She looked at the faces of her crew, etched with fear and determination, and then at Kaido, his eyes reflecting both fear and unwavering resolve. She saw a flicker of defiance, a spark of hope that refused to be extinguished. It was the same spark that had ignited the human spirit throughout history, the same spark that had led them through countless challenges. "Kaido," Amelia said, her voice steady despite the terror rising in her chest. "Take the weapon. Fly to their flagship. Try to disrupt their technology. I'll handle the distraction." Kaido looked at her, his eyes wide. "No, Captain. I need backup." Amelia shook her head, her gaze unwavering. "This is your fight, Kaido. This is your chance to change the universe. Just be careful and come home." Kaido saluted, his face resolute. He turned and strode towards the cockpit, the weight of humanity's fate resting on his shoulders. Amelia watched him go, her heart heavy with both anticipation and terror. As Kaido launched his ship, She turned to the command center, her voice ringing with a newfound determination. "Prepare for a counterattack. We're not going down without a fight." The battle raged on, a symphony of fire and destruction. Earth's last stand had become a dance of desperation, a desperate struggle against a force that seemed unstoppable. But in the heart of the storm, a flicker of hope remained. Kaido, fueled by the power of humanity's history and the unwavering belief in his own abilities, was flying towards the enemy, determined to make a difference. Whether it would be enough, however, only time would tell. The air hung heavy with the acrid smell of ozone and burning metal. A constant low hum vibrated through the ground, a reminder of the alien armada hovering above, a swarm of metallic behemoths poised to devour their world. Inside the bunker, the flickering light of emergency generators cast long, dancing shadows on the worn concrete walls. Amelia paced, her boots echoing against the cold floor. She hadn't slept in days, her eyes red-rimmed, reflecting the fear that gripped the world. The initial panic had given way to a grim resolve, a unity born of desperation. Yet, despite the rallying cry of "Humanity United," the grim reality of their situation echoed in every silent heartbeat. "The artifact," she muttered, her voice tight. "Is it even going to work?" Silas, hunched over a holographic display, his brow furrowed in concentration, looked up. "There's a chance, Amelia. A chance, however slim, that it could disrupt their technology. But we need more time. We need to understand its full potential." His words were a balm to her frayed nerves, but the fear remained, gnawing at her like a relentless beast. The artifact, a relic of Earth's ancient past, lay dormant in a secure chamber, surrounded by layers of protective shielding. Its energy signature, though faint, resonated with an unfathomable power, a power that could either save them or doom them. Kaido, his usually bright eyes now shadowed with a deep-seated worry, joined them. He had spent countless hours studying the artifact, his youthful idealism transforming into a relentless determination. "We have to try it," he said, his voice unwavering. "We have no other choice." Amelia met his gaze, her heart aching for the young pilot, for all of them. "The risks are too great, Kaido. The mother's ships are more powerful than we could have imagined. A single misstep could be disastrous." "But we've already lost so much," Kaido argued, his voice rising with emotion. "The cities, the lives. We can't just sit here and wait for the inevitable." The weight of his words settled on them all. Amelia knew he was right. They couldn't afford to wait. They needed to find a way to turn the tide, to fight back against the relentless tide of annihilation. Suddenly, a tremor shook the bunker, followed by a deafening roar. The alarm klaxon blared, a shrill note that pierced the tense silence. "They're attacking again," General Volkov, his face etched with a mixture of fear and steel, announced, his voice strained. "We need to go. Now." Amelia followed Volkov through the labyrinthine passageways of the bunker, her mind racing. The mother's ships were relentless, their technology a terrifying spectacle of alien ingenuity. They rained down fire, their weapons spitting beams of energy that tore through the planet's defenses. But even as Earth crumbled beneath the onslaught, a flicker of hope remained. The artifact, a whisper of humanity's forgotten past, held the key to their survival. The question was, could they unlock its power before it was too late? The sky over the Pacific had become a canvas for a horrifying spectacle. The once serene blue, now a swirling vortex of crimson and ochre, pulsed with an alien energy that sent tremors through the very earth. It was a constant reminder of the Planet Eaters' presence, their advanced technology a stark contrast to the feeble defenses Earth could muster. Amelia stood atop the command center, the wind whipping her hair around her face as she watched the monstrous warships hovering above. Fear gnawed at her, not for herself, but for the billions of lives she was sworn to protect. She had pored over countless battle plans, studied the Eaters' tactics, their brutal efficiency, their insatiable hunger for entire planets. But the more she dug, the more she realized Earth was playing a game it couldn't win. "Captain," Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka's voice crackled through the calm, his voice a breath of youthful defiance against the backdrop of the Eater's terrifying display. "They're starting their bombardment. They're targeting major cities." Amelia's stomach churned, the reality of the situation hitting her with the force of a physical blow. She glanced at the maps on the wall, the red dots representing major urban centers now glowing with a chilling, ominous light. The Eaters were not just showing their power, they were targeting humanity's soul, its centers of culture and civilization. "Activate the anti-air batteries," she ordered, her voice a tight knot. "And prepare the interceptor squadrons. We'll buy some time, but we need a miracle." The anti-air batteries spat fire, their blasts swallowed by the Eater's shields. It was a hopeless clash, a David versus Goliath scenario with the outcome already decided. Yet, the brave young pilots of Earth's Air Force flew with a fierce determination, their small craft a desperate dance against the relentless might of the Eater's warships. Inside the command center, Professor Silas Chen watched the unfolding chaos with a mixture of dread and defiance. His eyes were glued to the monitors, the data pouring in a constant stream of information on the Eater's movements, their energy signatures, their unimaginable technology. The more he learned, the more he felt the weight of humanity's vulnerability. "Silas," Amelia's voice brought him back to the present. "Any progress on the artifact?" Silas looked up, his gaunt face etched with exhaustion. He had spent countless nights poring over ancient texts, deciphering cryptic symbols, piecing together the history of a weapon that could both bring destruction and salvation. "It's complicated, Amelia," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "The activation sequence is complex, and I'm not sure if we can pull it off in time." But even as he spoke, a flicker of hope sparked in his eyes. He had a feeling, a hunch based on his deep understanding of the artifact, that it held the key to turning the tide of the war. It wasn't just a weapon he was working with, it was a conduit to humanity's collective history, a reflection of its spirit, its resilience. He just needed a way to harness it before it was too late. "We have no choice, Silas," Amelia said, her voice resolute. "We need to try. Every second counts." Silas nodded, the weight of responsibility settling heavy on his shoulders. The fate of humanity now rested on his ability to decipher this ancient artifact, to unleash a power that could save them from annihilation. Meanwhile, Kaido Tanaka was soaring through the crimson sky, his craft a sleek silhouette against the swirling inferno. He had spent the last few weeks modifying his fighter, fusing the artifact's technology with Earth's own, creating a weaponized vessel he hoped could punch through the Eater's shields. He wasn't a scientist, he was a pilot, a warrior fueled by a deep love for his planet and a burning desire to protect it. "Kaido, we've got a visual on your target," came the voice of his wingman, Sato, through the comm. Kaido locked onto the image. It was the Eater's flagship, the source of their relentless bombardment. A shiver ran down his spine, the sheer size of the ship a reminder of the magnitude of the task he had undertaken. But fear was a luxury he couldn't afford. "Incoming missile barrage," Sato warned. "Take cover." Kaido barely had time to react before the sky exploded with blinding flashes. He pulled up sharply, his craft bucking violently. But even as he evaded the missiles, he knew he couldn't stay in the defensive. He had to strike. "Sato, I'm going in," he declared, his voice firm. "Keep the enemy occupied." "Kaido, are you crazy?" Sato's voice was laced with worry. "You're going to get yourself killed." Kaido ignored him, his gaze fixed on the flagship. As he neared, the artifact's energy pulsed, its power humming through his veins. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, and then he plunged into the heart of the inferno. The sky above Earth was a war zone, its beauty obscured by the horrors of an alien invasion. Yet, amidst the chaos, there were acts of courage, of defiance, of unwavering hope. They were fighting for their planet, for their future, for the very essence of humanity. And somewhere in that sky, a young pilot, fueled by an ancient weapon and a burning desire to survive, was about to unleash a power that could change the destiny of his world. The sky above Tokyo was a canvas of fiery crimson and obsidian, the air thick with the metallic tang of burning debris. Kaido Tanaka, his face slick with sweat and grime, stared out of the cockpit window of his modified fighter, the remnants of the city sprawling beneath him like a wounded beast. His heart pounded a desperate rhythm against his ribs, a counterpoint to the relentless roar of his engines. He'd been piloting the prototype, the experimental ship powered by Silas Chen's salvaged artifact, a weapon forged from the very fabric of humanity's collective history. The weapon had been a beacon of hope, a desperate gamble against the relentless onslaught of the Krellin, the alien race who had come to devour his world. But hope, like the city below, was now smoldering, threatened by the encroaching shadows of the Krellin flagship, a behemoth that dwarfed even the largest human constructs. Its hull, a tapestry of jagged, metallic scales, pulsed with an eerie green light, a prelude to the devastating energy blasts that had already laid waste to Tokyo. "Kaido, report? Are you still online?" Amelia Sharma's voice crackled through his headset, her normally calm tone laced with urgency. She was the captain, the one who held their dwindling hope together. Amelia was a beacon of strength, but even she had to be struggling with the overwhelming odds. "I'm here, Captain," Kaido replied, his voice tight with a mix of fear and grim resolve. "The flagship. It's moving in. I need to get the weapon active, but the energy readings are still unstable." The weapon, aptly nicknamed the Symphony, was a paradoxical beast. It drew power from the shared stories, music, and art of human history, a collective memory that resonated with the very soul of the planet. But harnessing that power was a delicate dance, a symphony of frequencies, and the Krellin's energy blasts were throwing off the delicate balance. Amelia's voice was sharp, tinged with barely suppressed panic. "We have to buy you time, Kaido. General Volkov is coordinating the last of our defenses. But we won't hold them off forever. You need to get that thing working, and fast." Kaido looked at the flickering readouts on his console, his mind racing. He could almost feel the desperation of the city below, the millions of souls clinging to the last slivers of hope. He was their last chance, the young pilot tasked with wielding the symphony of humanity against the cold, calculating hunger of the Krellin. "I'm working on it, Captain. But I need more time. Just hold them off, that's all I ask." His words were a prayer, a desperate plea to the ghosts of humanity's past, to the echoes of their triumphs and their tragedies. The Krellin were relentless, their ships like ravenous beasts, tearing through the remnants of Earth's defenses. But Kaido knew, with every fiber of his being, that he had to fight. He knew that the future of humanity, the symphony of their collective existence, depended on it. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the task ahead. He would be the conductor, the one who would orchestrate the final song, a symphony of hope, courage, and defiance, against the crushing darkness that threatened to consume them all. He was just a young pilot, just a single note in the grand symphony of humanity, but he would play his part, and he would play it with everything he had. The sky, once a canvas of azure and cloud, was now a churning maelstrom of crimson and black. The Planet Eater's flagship, a colossal obsidian teardrop, hung heavy in the atmosphere, its surface pulsing with an unnatural, malevolent light. Earth's defenses, once a reassuring web of satellites and missiles, were now a tattered tapestry, torn asunder by the alien vessel's relentless bombardment. Amelia watched the spectacle from the command center, the scent of ozone and burnt circuitry heavy in the air. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a drumbeat echoing the relentless assault of the Planet Eaters. The pressure on her shoulders felt like a physical weight, a crushing reminder of the lives entrusted to her. "They're escalating, Captain," Lieutenant Tanaka said, his voice tight with concern as he monitored the incoming data. "Their energy weapons have increased in intensity. What are our options?" Amelia's gaze swept over the holographic maps, each red dot a flaring inferno on the surface of the planet. "Our options are dwindling, Kaido. The energy cannons are overloading, and the shield generators are on the verge of collapse. We're barely holding on." A wave of despair threatened to engulf her. Their technology, their weapons, were simply not a match for the Planet Eater's terrifying arsenal. Professor Chen, hunched over a console, his face pale with worry, spoke up. "The artifact, Captain. It's ready to be deployed. But..." He trailed off, his usual confident voice laced with uncertainty. Amelia's eyes met his, a flicker of hope igniting within her. But what? Chen hesitated, then gestured towards the console. The energy signature is unstable. It has the potential to disrupt their technology, yes, but it could also destabilize our own. We don't have a choice, Amelia said, her voice firm despite the tremor of fear in her stomach. It's our last hope. Kaido, get the artifact ready for deployment. We're going to use it. Kaido nodded, his face grim but resolute. His fingers flew across the console, his eyes focused on the intricate network of codes and commands. The artifact, a small, intricately carved sphere, pulsed faintly with a soft, blue light, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. Captain, General Volkov's voice crackled over the comms, his usually authoritative tone edged with strain. Their main weapon is charging. It's aimed directly at the artifact. If it hits, we're finished. Amelia's stomach lurched. She knew the weapon Volkov spoke of, a weapon of pure, concentrated energy, capable of obliterating entire cities. There was no defense, no countermeasure. A desperate plan began to form in her mind, as dangerous as it was audacious. Kaido, deploy the artifact, and prepare our interceptor, she ordered. I'll draw their fire. Tanaka's eyes widened, a mixture of awe and fear in his gaze. Captain, you can't. It's suicide. Amelia shook her head, her focus unwavering. I've thought about this for a long time. We need to do this. Kaido, for Earth. The command center fell silent, punctuated only by the harsh rasp of the comms and the rhythmic thrum of the planet. Amelia, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination, waited. The air crackled with energy, the Planet Eater's main weapon firing a beam of pure white light that sliced through the atmosphere, a terrifying promise of destruction. Amelia, at the helm of their interceptor, steered the small vessel on a collision course, the crimson sky blurring into a kaleidoscope of red and white as the weapon bore down on them. She closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her family, of Earth, of the future that hung in the balance. Then, she opened her eyes and grinned, the terrifying beauty of the weapon's approach mirroring the thrill of facing the impossible. She had one shot, one chance to buy Kaido the time he needed. But the cost might be her life. The night sky above the Pacific Ocean shimmered with a sickly green glow. The Planet Eater's flagship, a colossal, obsidian monolith, hung like a malevolent omen, casting an oppressive shadow over the Earth. Below, the waters churned with the constant barrage of energy weapons, painting the waves with streaks of molten crimson. The once familiar, comforting darkness of the ocean depths was now a battlefield, echoing with the cries of falling vessels and the relentless hum of alien technology. Amelia, her face etched with weariness and worry, watched the carnage unfold from the bridge of her flagship, the Vanguard. Her eyes, usually sharp and focused, were dulled with exhaustion, but her gaze remained fixed on the enemy. The Planet Eaters, with their advanced technology and brutal tactics, were pushing Earth's defenses to their breaking point. The strategic decisions she'd made, once grounded in cautious optimism, now felt like desperate gambles. Captain, a voice broke through her thoughts. Lieutenant Tanaka, his face pale but his eyes burning with defiance, stood before her. We've lost contact with the Phoenix. The last transmission was disturbing. Amelia's heart sank. The Phoenix, Kaido's ship, was spearheading the attack on the flagship. She knew how driven Kaido was, how desperate he was to prove the effectiveness of the artifact. What do they say? She asked, her voice tight with anxiety. Tanaka hesitated, then stammered. They're saying the artifact isn't working. It's not responding. Amelia's hand instinctively reached for the communicator, but she knew the answer, knew the fear that was gripping Kaido. The artifact, the weapon forged from Earth's history, was their last hope. If it was failing, their survival was a mere dream. Get me Professor Chen, she ordered, her voice laced with urgency. She needed answers, needed to understand why the artifact was failing. Every second felt like an eternity. Professor Silas Chen, his hair a mess and his eyes red-rimmed with fatigue, looked up from his work table, his face a mask of worry. He was deep in the bowels of the Vanguard, surrounded by screens displaying complex data streams and ancient scrolls, trying to decipher the secrets of the artifact. "Captain," he said, his voice shaking, "I've been examining the artifact's energy signature. He trailed off, searching for the right words. "It's not responding to the way it's supposed to. The energy frequencies are off." "What does that mean?" Amelia pressed, her frustration growing. "It means we may have miscalculated," Chen admitted. "We based our understanding of the artifact on historical records, on the echoes of the past. But perhaps the actual weapon was different, perhaps more complex than we imagined." "And what do we do now?" Amelia demanded, her voice laced with a raw desperation that she couldn't conceal. Chen looked at her, his eyes filled with a flicker of hope. "We need to understand the artifact's true potential. We need to look beyond our current understanding, beyond the limitations of our technology." Amelia, her mind racing, started to see a glimmer of light in the darkness. "Professor," she said, her voice now calm and resolute, "we may need to look beyond the physical, beyond the tangible. We need to understand the artifact's true purpose, its connection to our history, to our very essence." The line between the past and the present, between hope and despair, had never been so thin. The battle raged on above, but on the bridge of the Vanguard, a new kind of battle was being waged, a fight for understanding, for a connection to the past that could hold the key to their future. The sky above New Delhi pulsed with crimson and violet energy. The colossal, segmented form of a planet-eater vessel, its smooth, obsidian hull reflecting the dying sun, dwarfed the city's skyscrapers. The city itself was a tapestry of destruction, its once vibrant streets littered with debris and the charred remains of buildings. The air crackled with the smell of ozone and burnt metal. Captain Amelia Sharma watched the scene unfold from her command post, a bunker carved deep into the Delhi metro system. Her face, normally an unyielding mask of resolve, was etched with worry. The Planet Eater's onslaught was relentless, a symphony of laser fire and energy blasts that ripped through Earth's defenses like a hot knife through butter. "Report from Sector 3, a young officer, Lieutenant Singh, said, his voice tight. "We've lost the missile batteries. The enemy is too fast, too powerful. They're picking us off one by one." Amelia's jaw clenched. She had known from the start that Earth's technology was vastly inferior, but the reality of that inferiority was a harsh slap in the face. Her gaze drifted to the holographic projections of the city, each one a testament to the Planet Eater's power. "How are the countermeasures?" she asked, her voice betraying no emotion. "We've scrambled all available fighters," the officer reported, "but they are outmatched. We're losing ground, Captain." Amelia let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The situation was dire, their defenses crumbling like sandcastles before a tidal wave. Their only hope lay in Professor Silas Chen's artifact, the ancient weapon that could potentially disrupt the Planet Eater's technology. Amelia knew the risk involved, but she had no choice. A surge of adrenaline, a familiar cocktail of fear and responsibility, coursed through her veins. "Get me Professor Chen," she said, her voice firm. "We need to activate the weapon. Now." The screen crackled to life, displaying Silas's haggard face. He was surrounded by blinking monitors and tangled wires, a whirlwind of activity. He looked exhausted, his tired eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. "Amelia," he said, his voice strained, "the weapon is ready, but—" "But what?" Amelia pressed, her patience thinning. "The activation sequence is complex, and it requires precise timing. A single misstep could—" "Could what? Destroy the city?" Amelia interrupted, her voice sharp. "We're already losing it. We have no time to be cautious. We have to take the risk." Silas hesitated, his eyes reflecting the weight of her words. He knew she was right. There was no time for hesitation, no room for fear. "I understand, Amelia," he said, his voice firm. "We will activate the weapon. But we need to do it right. Lieutenant Tanaka is the only one who can pilot the artifact's delivery system. He's currently engaged in a diversionary attack against the enemy flagship. Amelia's heart sank. Tanaka was a talented pilot, but his mission was fraught with danger. He was risking his life for a chance to activate the weapon. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice laden with concern. Silas met her gaze with unwavering conviction. "He's the best chance we have, Amelia. Trust him." Amelia held Silas's gaze for a moment, the weight of the decision bearing down on her. "All right," she said, her voice tight. "Get Tanaka in position. We'll activate the weapon." She turned back to the screen, watching the city burn. The Planet Eaters were like unstoppable juggernauts, their advanced technology and brutal tactics overwhelming Earth's defenses. But she refused to give up. They had to fight. They had to survive. The fate of humanity, it seemed, rested on the shoulders of a young pilot and a forgotten weapon. A weapon that, if unleashed correctly, could turn the tide of this desperate war. But the price, Amelia knew, could be high. They were facing a fight against an enemy so powerful, so indifferent, that it seemed almost impossible to defeat. But humanity had always been resilient. They had stared down the impossible before, and they would do it again. And if they succeeded, the world would remember their bravery. The world would remember their defiance. The world would remember the day humanity stood its ground against the Planet Eaters. The world would remember the day they fought back. The sky above New Delhi was a canvas of swirling chaos. Planet Eater ships, sleek and obsidian, moved with deliberate precision, their energy weapons carving scars across the city's once proud skyline. Smoke plumes billowed into the sky, a stark testament to the ruthlessness of their assault. Captain Amelia Sharma, her face grim but determined, stared at the unfolding devastation from the command center bunker deep beneath the city. She clenched her fists, the metallic scent of fear and sweat filling her nostrils. The situation was dire. Earth's defenses were crumbling faster than anticipated. They were outmatched, outgunned, and running out of time. "Report from the Western Front," Amelia barked, her voice echoing in the sterile chamber. A young lieutenant, his face pale with exhaustion, stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Ma'am, the perimeter defenses are compromised. The enemy has breached our energy shields. We're losing ground." Amelia's jaw tightened. She could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. She knew the truth, they were losing. But surrender was not an option. Not as long as there was a single breath left in their collective lungs. "Tell the pilots to stand their ground. We need to buy time for Professor Chen." The lieutenant nodded, his eyes reflecting the fear radiating through the room. He turned and raced out, leaving Amelia to grapple with the overwhelming burden of responsibility. She glanced at the holographic map projecting the battle. The red lines representing Planet Eater ships were advancing relentlessly, like hungry wolves closing in on their prey. Her eyes darted to the small green dot representing Kaido's modified spacecraft, the last hope they had. He was pushing the limits of the artifact, trying to activate its disruptive capabilities. But the weapon was temperamental, its activation process shrouded in mystery. Every passing minute increased the chance that the artifact would malfunction, leaving humanity with nothing but a shattered dream. Suddenly, the room was filled with a deafening roar of sirens. The alarm echoed through the bunker, sending shivers down Amelia's spine. "What's happening?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "Ma'am, they're targeting the artifact. The Planet Eaters have locked onto Kaido's location," a technician shouted, his voice laced with panic. Amelia felt a cold dread creep into her heart. They were losing Kaido, their only chance. She knew what she had to do. "Alert Kaido immediately. We need to divert their attention." She turned to the communications officer, her eyes burning with a mix of fear and determination. "Get me a direct line to Kaido, and prepare the defensive network for a full-scale diversion." The officer nodded, his fingers flying over the console. A cold fire of resolve ignited within Amelia. She was a soldier, trained to fight, to protect, and she would do everything in her power to ensure that humanity had a chance. even if it meant making the ultimate sacrifice. Her eyes met the gaze of General Volkov, his face creased with worry. He knew what she was thinking. They had both lost so much in this fight, but they would not lose everything. "General," Amelia said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "I have a plan. It's risky, but it might just buy us enough time. We need to make a stand." The general sighed, the weight of his responsibility etched on his face. He nodded slowly, understanding the weight of her sacrifice. He knew that Amelia was willing to put herself in harm's way to save the last hope for humanity, to give them a chance at a future. "Then let's do it," he said, his voice a low rumble. "For Earth, for our families, for all that we hold dear." Amelia and Volkov exchanged a silent, understanding glance. The weight of their decision hung heavy in the air, but they were ready to face the impossible odds together. They were going to fight for every inch of their planet, even if it meant facing their own mortality. For in the face of the planet eaters, the survival of humanity was the only thing that mattered. The sky above the Pacific Ocean was a canvas of crimson and orange, reflecting the dying light of a sun that seemed to mourn the fate of Earth. The air hummed with the constant thrum of the planet eaters' ships, their sleek, obsidian hulls dominating the horizon. Amelia, her face grim yet resolute, surveyed the battlefield from the command bridge of the flagship, the Vanguard. The air crackled with static as the comms crackled with the frantic chatter of her crew. "Captain, we're losing ground," shouted Lieutenant Jackson, his face pale with stress. "Their energy blasts are overwhelming our defenses. We can't hold them back much longer." Amelia clenched her jaw, ignoring the knot of fear twisting in her stomach. "We have to hold them off," she said, her voice steady despite the panic around her. "Hold them off until Kaido is ready with the weapon." It had been 3 days since the Planet Eaters had launched their full-scale assault, 3 days of relentless attacks that had pushed Earth's defenses to the brink. The entire world was united in their struggle, but the sheer technological might of their enemy seemed insurmountable. She glanced at the holographic display, showcasing a swirling mass of energy, the pulse of the Planet Eaters' flagship. This was their core, their heart, the source of their devastating power. It was Kaido's target. Silas, stationed at a nearby console, was hunched over a complex array of screens, his eyes glued to a particular reading. He was monitoring the artifact, the ancient device that held the key to their salvation. It was a relic of Earth's long-forgotten past, a weapon forged from the very essence of human creativity. "How much longer, Silas?" Amelia asked, the urgency in her voice betraying her mounting anxiety. Silas looked up, his weary eyes reflecting the flickering light of the console. "It's unstable," he murmured, his voice tight with worry. "The energy readings are erratic. One wrong move." "We don't have time for doubts," Amelia interrupted, her voice firm. "Kaido needs to get in position. We have to buy him time." "Captain, they're deploying their secondary attack force," the communications officer shouted, his voice strained. "They're targeting the North Pole." Amelia's heart hammered in her chest. The North Pole was home to the artifact's power source, one of the last remaining sources of Earth's energy. If they lost it, Kaido's weapon would be useless. "We need to scramble our fighters," Amelia ordered, her voice cold and sharp. "Intercept them before they reach the North Pole." Her eyes darted back to Silas, a silent plea in her gaze. "Silas, we have to do this. We have to win." Silas looked back at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. He knew the stakes, understood the weight of his responsibility. The fate of Earth, of humanity, rested on his shoulders. "I'll do what I can, Amelia," he promised, his voice a strained whisper. Amelia nodded, her gaze fixed on the relentless onslaught of the Planet Eaters. They were pushing relentlessly, determined to crush their prey. But Earth, despite its seemingly insurmountable odds, refused to give in. They would fight, they would resist, they would hold on to their hope, their humanity, their very right to exist. As the battle raged around her, Amelia felt a spark of defiance ignite within her. They might be outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched, but they were not broken. They were Earth, and they were not going down without a fight. And they would never forget the echoes of their past, the whispers of their shared history, the knowledge that they were not alone in their struggle. The sky above New Delhi was a canvas of swirling crimson and ochre, the remnants of the Planet Eaters' latest assault. Smoke billowed from the shattered remnants of Earth's once proud defense network, a testament to the vast power of their enemy. Amelia Sharma, her face smeared with grime and exhaustion, watched the carnage unfold from the command center of the makeshift base. The air crackled with static, the constant chatter of panicked commanders and the urgent beeps of failing sensors. "General," a weary voice crackled from the comms, "they're focusing their attack on the artifact's location." Alexander Volkov, his graying hair tinged with the ash of the burning skies, looked at Amelia with a heavy expression. "They know. We need to move it, now." "We can't," Amelia countered, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "Kaido's still trying to activate it. Any movement will disrupt the process." Their eyes met, a silent exchange of unspoken anxieties. They were running out of time, the planet slowly crumbling under the onslaught of the Planet Eaters. The alien ships, sleek and deadly, hovered like vultures above the ravaged landscape, their weapon fire raining down in relentless waves. Meanwhile, deep within the bowels of a repurposed mining facility in the Siberian wilderness, Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka was locked in a desperate struggle of his own. The artifact, a seemingly innocuous piece of obsidian, pulsed with an otherworldly energy, humming with forgotten power. He had spent countless hours studying the ancient texts that Silas Chen, the brilliant astrophysicist, had unearthed, deciphering the cryptic instructions that outlined its activation. The air in the chamber was thick with ozone and the acrid scent of burning wires, the result of countless failed attempts. Kaido's hands, calloused and stained with grease, trembled with exhaustion. He stared at the artifact, its surface flickering with an inner light. It's resonating," he muttered, his voice hoarse with strain. The obsidian pulsed faster, its energy intensifying, its light spreading outwards, filling the chamber with a blinding brilliance. A surge of relief washed over Kaido. He had finally cracked the code. But as the artifact continued to resonate, he felt a tremor in the earth beneath his feet. The room pulsed with the same energy, and the air crackled with anticipation. A wave of dread washed over him. He wasn't sure if he was activating the weapon, or awakening something far more ancient, something far more dangerous. As Kaido struggled to contain the artifact's volatile energy, a chilling realization dawned on Amelia and Alexander. The Planet Eaters knew about the weapon. They were intentionally targeting it, their tactics shifting from a relentless assault to a strategic siege. They were waiting, biding their time, and something about their calculated patience sent a shiver down Amelia's spine. From the depths of the Siberian mine, a tremor shook the earth, sending shockwaves through the planet's crust. The Planet Eaters' ships, sensing the shift in power, began to converge on the location of the artifact. The air crackled with a deadly energy as the battle intensified, and in the heart of the conflict, Kaido Tanaka, the young pilot, was about to unleash a power that could save humanity or destroy it. The air crackled with an electric tension, the silence punctuated only by the rhythmic hum of Kaido's modified spacecraft. The artifact, a metallic sphere pulsating with an eerie, otherworldly hum, sat nestled in the cockpit, its surface etched with ancient script that Silas had deciphered as a language of forgotten power. It was a weapon, a desperate gamble, and Kaido felt the weight of humanity's hopes resting on his shoulders. "Ready, Kaido?" Amelia's voice, strained but resolute, crackled through the comms. She was monitoring the situation from the command center, her eyes glued to the screens depicting the looming threat of the Planet Eaters' flagship. It was a behemoth, its sleek, obsidian hull reflecting the dying light of the setting sun, a chilling reminder of the overwhelming power they faced. Kaido swallowed hard, the knot in his stomach tightening with every passing second. "Ready, Captain." His voice was steady, but his heart pounded against his ribs like a captive bird. This was it. This was the moment they had prepared for, hoped for, and feared. "Good. We're sending you the coordinates for the flagship's energy nexus." Keep your distance, but get close enough to activate the artifact, Amelia instructed, her voice betraying a sliver of doubt. The artifact's efficacy was still unknown, a desperate hope in the face of utter despair. Kaido nodded, the movement barely perceptible through his helmet. He was adrift in a sea of uncertainty, the weight of the world bearing down on his young shoulders. But he had a job to do, for humanity, for Earth. He engaged the thrusters, the spacecraft jolting forward, a silent arrow piercing the darkening sky. The air grew thin, the stars becoming sharper, more brilliant, as they breached the atmosphere. He guided the craft towards the flagship, its colossal form growing larger with every second, a dark omen against the canvas of space. From his vantage point, Kaido could see the mother's ship. It was a marvel of alien engineering, a testament to their advanced technology. He could almost feel the alien energy thrumming through its core, a pulse of raw, predatory power. It was a reminder of the ruthless force they were facing, the force that threatened to extinguish the light of humanity. As he drew closer, Kaido activated the artifact. A wave of energy surged through the cabin, vibrating his bones, his teeth chattering involuntarily. The ancient script on the surface of the sphere glowed, its light casting eerie shadows on his face. He felt a surge of energy within himself, a tingling sensation that flowed from the artifact and into his very being. It was like a sudden, unexpected connection to a power he hadn't known existed. The mother's ship, seemingly sensing the disturbance, shifted its position. A beam of energy, blindingly bright, pierced the darkness, narrowly missing Kaido's craft. He felt a chill down his spine, a raw, primal fear that gripped him, a reminder of the danger he was facing. Kaido held his breath. This was it. The moment of truth. He aimed the artifact towards the ship's energy nexus, his heart pounding in his chest. With a deep breath, he closed his eyes and activated the artifact's final stage. A wave of energy erupted from the sphere, a blinding light that filled the cockpit. The ancient script on its surface pulsed rapidly, its glow spreading outwards until it consumed the entire cabin. Kaido felt a surge of energy, a feeling of exhilaration and terror intertwined. He knew he was doing something monumental, something that could potentially save humanity. He could only hope his gamble wouldn't cost them all. The sky above the Pacific Ocean was now a canvas of swirling, crimson energy. The Planet Eater's flagship, a behemoth of obsidian and crackling light, hung like a malevolent storm cloud, unleashing bolts of raw power that ripped through Earth's defenses. Amelia, her brow creased with worry, watched the holographic projection of the battlefield from the command center deep within the mountain base. "Their energy signatures are escalating," reported a young lieutenant, his voice tight with strained calm. "We can't hold them much longer." Amelia's gaze flickered to the glowing orb in the center of the room. The artifact Celis had unearthed. It pulsed with a soft, ethereal light, a silent testament to humanity's hope. Yet, the weapon remained stubbornly inactive, its activation process proving more complex than they imagined. "We need a breakthrough, and we need it now," Amelia said, her voice firm despite the growing anxiety in her chest. "Kaido, any progress?" The holographic image shifted to the cockpit of Kaido's modified spacecraft, the one he had dubbed the Phoenix, a testament to his unwavering belief in humanity's ability to rise from the ashes. "Getting close, Captain," Kaido's voice crackled through the calm, his face grim but resolute. "The artifact is responding to the harmonics of the planet's energy field, but it needs a catalyst." "A catalyst?" Amelia's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" Kaido glanced at the control panel, his fingers dancing over the intricate array of buttons and levers. "The artifact is attuned to the collective energy of our species, Captain. It was built as a weapon of peace, a defense against those who sought to destroy the harmony of our world. But to activate it, we need a symbol. Something that embodies the spirit of our history, the indomitable will of humanity." A flicker of understanding crossed Amelia's face. "He's talking about the stories, Captain," Celis' voice interjected from the corner of the room. He was hunched over a terminal, his fingers flying across the keys as he analyzed the artifact's data. The Earth stories, the ones woven into the fabric of our existence, the ones that have resonated for generations. They hold the key, the catalyst to awaken the artifact's power. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest. She knew Silas was right. The Earth's cultural tapestry, a mosaic of countless narratives spanning millennia, was a reservoir of resilience, of hope, of the very essence of the human spirit. But how could they harness that power in the face of such overwhelming destruction? Suddenly, Kaido's voice filled the room, his tone laced with a glimmer of excitement. "I think I've found it, Captain. A melody, a song, an ancient lullaby that echoes the very heartbeat of our planet. It's called the Cradle Song of the Earth." A wave of hope washed over Amelia. The Cradle Song of the Earth. A lullaby passed down through generations, a soothing melody that whispered stories of love, of unity, of the unwavering strength of the human spirit. It was a story of hope, a story of resilience, a story that resonated with the very essence of humanity. Could it be the catalyst they needed? "Kaido, activate it." Amelia's voice was a blend of hope and trepidation. "Let the song of our world rise to meet the storm." As Kaido's fingers flew across the control panel, the air crackled with anticipation. The artifact hummed, its ethereal glow intensifying. Then, a melody, faint at first, began to rise, a wave of sound that rippled through the command center. It was the Cradle Song of the Earth, its ancient rhythm echoing through the metal walls, carrying the spirit of 1,000 generations. And as the song reached its crescendo, the artifact pulsed with a brilliant light, a blinding radiance that illuminated the command center. The air crackled with energy, the very fabric of reality seeming to warp and shift. Outside, the Planet Eater's flagship shuddered, its energy beams stuttering and faltering. The attack faltered, the crimson energy dispersing into wisps of smoke and fading light. The mother, her eyes filled with a flicker of surprise, stared at the Earth with a newfound curiosity. The planet wasn't just a source of energy, it was a symphony of life, a tapestry of stories that whispered of a resilience she had never imagined. The Cradle Song of the Earth, an ancient melody, had woven its magic, reminding the Planet Eaters of the strength that lay within humanity, the power of a planet united by its shared heritage. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, hope, like a beacon in the darkness, flickered on the horizon. The sky above New Delhi was a canvas of fiery crimson and blinding white. The Planet Eater's flagship, a colossal, obsidian leviathan, loomed against the burning atmosphere, its weaponized beams carving grotesque patterns into the city. Buildings crumbled like sandcastles, their remnants raining down upon a sea of fleeing humanity. Amelia, her heart a leaden weight, watched the carnage unfold from the bridge of her command ship. Every report resonated with despair. The defense grid was failing, casualties were mounting, and the weapon, the last hope humanity had, wasn't ready. "My God, Captain," whispered Lieutenant Akira, his eyes wide with horror. "They're wiping out everything in their path. We're doomed." Amelia, refusing to cave to despair, forced a calmness into her voice. "We're not doomed, Lieutenant. We still have a chance. Kaido's working on it. We just need to hold them off until he's ready." She glanced at the tactical display. The Planet Eater's advance was relentless. Their ships, like rabid insects, swarmed their defenses, their technology demonstrably superior to anything Earth could muster. But her eyes, despite the grim reality, found solace in the flickering image of Kaido's modified fighter, a single beacon of hope in the dark storm. Kaido, young and untested, had become a symbol of humanity's resilience. His spacecraft, a marvel of ingenuity and desperation, was the embodiment of Earth's last stand. He had poured his soul, his knowledge, his very being into adapting Professor Chen's artifact, the Forgotten Weapon, into a weapon of desperation, a glimmer of hope against an extinction-level threat. Amelia's comms crackled to life. "Captain, it's Kaido. I've got a window. I need to go in, now." Amelia's eyes widened. "Kaido, are you sure?" "I have to, Captain. It's our only shot. But I need your help. You have to draw their attention, draw them away from the artifact." "Kaido, I'm not going to sacrifice our entire fleet for the..." It's the only way, Captain. We both know it. I'll do my best. Trust me. The comms went silent, the only sound the hiss of static and the roar of the enemy's onslaught. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest, every beat echoing the deafening cacophony of the battlefield. She could see the fear etched on the faces of her crew, their despair a mirror of her own. But she couldn't afford to falter. Not now. Not when Kaido's life, humanity's survival, rested on her shoulders. Engage Phase 2. Full offensive, Amelia ordered, her voice firm despite the tremor in her heart. We'll buy Kaido time. We'll show them that Earth will not go down without a fight. Amelia knew the risk. A direct confrontation with the Planet Eaters was suicide. They were facing an enemy whose technology dwarfed their own, whose brutal efficiency was a stark testament to their callous disregard for life. But she had to buy Kaido time. She had to ensure the weapon, the last hope humanity had, reached its target. The battle raged for what felt like an eternity. Amelia's ship, a lone sentinel against a tide of darkness, was pounded relentlessly, the enemy's weapons spitting fire and fury. She felt the tremors of the ship, the groans of the metal hull straining against the onslaught. But she remained resolute. She would not yield. She would not let Earth fall without a fight. As the battle raged, Amelia couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. A cold, unnerving presence, like a predator sizing up its prey. Suddenly, the bridge lights flickered, the comms went dead, and a sense of absolute dread fell over the ship. Amelia's eyes darted to the tactical display. The enemy's flagship, its obsidian hull glowing with malevolent energy, was now targeting her ship. A massive beam of energy, thick as a skyscraper, was hurtling towards them, its power a terrifying, tangible manifestation of the Planet Eater's ruthlessness. Amelia's heart seized. This was it. The end. Captain, we're taking heavy fire. We're losing power, cried Lieutenant Akira, his voice filled with panic. Amelia, her mind racing, could only think of Kaido. They'd sacrificed so much for this moment. The weapon, Earth's last hope, had to succeed. Without hesitation, she issued her command. Emergency maneuver, evade to the north. But it was too late. The beam, a celestial inferno, engulfed them, bathing the bridge in blinding white light. Amelia braced herself, expecting the worst, the final, crushing blow. But then, a sense of serenity washed over her. The blast, instead of annihilating them, propelled the ship through the chaos, a rogue comet in a storm of stars. Amelia, momentarily disoriented, could only watch in awe as they were launched forward, their trajectory now aimed directly at the Planet Eater's flagship. Captain, Akira's voice, tinged with confusion, broke the silence. Amelia, her breath caught in her throat, stared at the display. Their course, a path of chaos and defiance, was leading them straight towards the heart of the enemy's fleet. This wasn't an accident. No, this was something more. Amelia's gaze fell upon the artifact's energy signature, now crackling with power, pulsing with a resonance that seemed to echo through the very fabric of existence. This was it. The sacrifice, the gamble. Amelia's heart pounded with a mixture of dread and hope. Kaido's success rested on her actions. The fate of humanity was in her hands. We're going to do this, Lieutenant. We're going to be the distraction for Kaido, she said, her voice resonating with a newfound purpose. Amelia, with a steely resolve, steered her ship into the enemy's heart, a desperate, breathtaking act of defiance against the overwhelming odds. The fate of Earth, the fate of humanity, now rested on the shoulders of a young pilot, a stolen weapon, and a gamble that could end in only one way. The air hung heavy with the stench of burnt metal and ozone. The once vibrant cityscape of Tokyo, now a scarred and smoldering ruin, was a stark reminder of the Planet Eater's brutal efficiency. Earth's defenses, once a source of hope and pride, had crumbled under the onslaught of advanced technology and relentless firepower. The planet's fate hung precariously in the balance, tethered to the success of a forgotten weapon and the bravery of a handful of determined individuals. Captain Amelia Sharma, her face etched with exhaustion and worry, stood beside Professor Silas Chen in the cramped confines of a makeshift command center. The air crackled with static, punctuated by the frantic chatter of military personnel relaying desperate updates. The latest reports were grim. The Planet Eater's flagship, a colossal vessel dwarfing even the largest human spacecraft, was closing in on the last line of defense. "Seal the weapon," Amelia said, her voice strained. "Are you certain it will work?" Silas, his hands trembling slightly, stared at the holographic projection of the weapon's intricate mechanism. The artifact, a seemingly ordinary bronze sculpture, pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible energy. He had dedicated his life to studying the cosmos, but nothing in his vast knowledge could explain the weapon's origins or its potential. It was a relic from a forgotten era, a reminder of a time before the rise of the Planet Eaters, a time when humanity itself was shrouded in mystery. "Amelia, it has to work," Silas said, his voice tight with urgency. "There is no other option." But doubt gnawed at Amelia's mind. She had seen the devastating power of the Planet Eaters firsthand, witnessed the destruction they wrought with their advanced technology. The weapon, in all its historical significance, felt like a desperate gamble, a last-ditch effort against an overwhelming force. "What if it doesn't?" she asked, her words barely audible above the din of the command center. "Then we face our fate," Silas replied, his gaze fixed on the holographic projection. "And I believe, Amelia, that our fate is not to be consumed by them, but rather to remind them that humanity is not merely a species to be devoured, but a force to be reckoned with." He paused, his voice softening. "We are more than just a planet, Amelia. We are a testament to resilience, to innovation, to the unwavering will to survive." Amelia, her heart heavy, looked at Silas, his face illuminated by the pulsating light of the weapon. His conviction, his unwavering belief in the human spirit, stirred a flicker of hope within her. She knew she couldn't afford to let doubt consume her. "Then let us be that force," she said, her voice firming. Outside, the sun cast long shadows across the ravaged cityscape. A lone figure stood on the rooftop of a shattered skyscraper, gazing at the approaching Planet Eater's flagship. Lieutenant Kaito Tanaka, his face pale but resolute, gripped the controls of his customized spacecraft. He had spent the past few weeks modifying his ship, pushing the limits of human technology, all in service of the weapon that Silas had unearthed. The artifact, when activated, would disrupt the Planet Eater's technology, potentially crippling their ability to wage war. Kaito took a deep breath, his mind racing with a mix of fear and determination. This was the moment he had been preparing for, the moment of truth. He could see the Planet Eater's ships closing in, their metallic hulls shimmering under the harsh sunlight. The enemy's advanced weaponry pulsed with deadly energy, a stark contrast to the crude, cobbled-together technology that humanity could muster. But amidst the fear, Kaito felt a surge of defiance. He had seen the devastation the Planet Eaters had inflicted, the lives they had taken, the hope they had crushed. He wouldn't let them win. He wouldn't allow their hunger to consume his planet, his home, his future. He activated his ship's engines, the roar resonating through the shattered city. The customized spacecraft, a testament to Kaito's ingenuity and unwavering belief, shot into the sky, a beacon of human defiance against the overwhelming might of the invaders. As he soared towards the Planet Eater's flagship, the weight of responsibility settled upon him. The fate of Earth, of humanity, rested on his shoulders. He was a young pilot, a product of a planet striving for peace, but now he stood at the precipice of a war that could define the future of sentient life itself. He would not falter. He would not fail. Not this time. His heart pounded in his chest, a primal rhythm of defiance. The moment of truth had arrived. The fight for survival had begun. The sky was a tapestry of fire and smoke. Explosions, like thunderclaps, rattled the very ground beneath Amelia's feet. She watched, her heart a leaden weight in her chest, as the enemy's massive ships rained devastation upon Earth's last bastion of defense. The city, once a beacon of hope and human ingenuity, was now a crumbling testament to the Planet Eater's relentless advance. Amelia's gaze flickered to the screen displaying Kaito's ship, a lone ember of defiance against the encroaching darkness. He was pushing the artifact's limits, his maneuvering erratic, yet somehow controlled. He was a dancer in a whirlwind, a daredevil defying the odds. But even his audacious gamble couldn't hold back the tide of the enemy's advanced weaponry. "General, we are losing ground," Lieutenant Ramirez reported, his voice tight with worry. "The enemy's shields are too strong. We can't penetrate their defenses." "Then we change the game, Ramirez," Amelia said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Prepare the secondary launch platform. I need every last bit of energy we can muster." "But Captain," Ramirez protested, "that will leave us vulnerable too." "There is no time for caution, Ramirez," Amelia interrupted. "We are on the brink. This is our last stand. We will not go down without a fight." The secondary platform, designed for civilian transport, was now a makeshift missile launcher, a beacon of hope, yet also a desperate gamble, as the entire operation relied on the artifact's unpredictable power. Amelia watched as Kaido, his ship battered but still soaring, approached the flagship. He was a human comet, burning bright as he aimed the artifact's energy at the enemy's core. But the planet-eating vessel, a monstrous behemoth, seemed impervious to the initial onslaught. "The artifact isn't enough," Amelia muttered, despair gnawing at her. "We need more." She glanced at the energy readings. It was a risk, a sacrifice that could leave them open to a devastating counterattack, but it was the only chance. "Ramirez," Amelia said, her voice firm, "fire the secondary platform. Target the enemy's shield generators. Overload them. Do it now." Ramirez hesitated, but the urgency in Amelia's eyes left him no choice. He initiated the launch sequence. The platform, a smaller version of the main defense system, spewed energy like a wounded beast. The beam, a shimmering thread of light, connected to the enemy flagship, overloading its shields. The enemy vessel, momentarily vulnerable, was now a sitting duck. Kaido, seizing the opportunity, steered his ship closer, firing the artifact's full potential. The ship shook violently, the energy pulse tearing through the enemy's defenses like a lightning bolt, finally reaching its core. The flagship exploded, a fiery supernova against the backdrop of the dying city. The shockwave, a sonic boom of destruction, ripped through the planet, throwing Amelia and the remaining troops back. The battle, for all intents and purposes, was over. But the victory was shadowed by the price paid. The city, once a symbol of human ingenuity, now lay in ruins. Amelia, bruised and battered, struggled to her feet, the weight of the loss pressing down on her. "Captain, we did it," Ramirez said, his voice raw with emotion. "We stopped them." Amelia nodded silently, her gaze fixed on the fading flames of the enemy's flagship. The victory was a hollow one. They had won, but at a terrible cost. The scars of this battle would take generations to heal. Looking around at the devastation, Amelia felt a flicker of hope amidst the despair. The artifact had worked. It had bought them time. They had survived. Perhaps, against all odds, humanity had a future after all. But the fight wasn't over. As Amelia gazed at the smoldering ruins, she knew that the scars of the battle weren't just on the planet, but on the hearts of those who had fought. The planet-eaters may have been driven back, but their threat still loomed, and the journey to rebuild, to heal, to find a path towards a future where the threat of annihilation wouldn't haunt their dreams, that journey was just beginning. The sky above New Delhi pulsed with a sickly green light, a constant reminder of the monstrous fleet hovering just beyond the atmosphere. The city itself, once a vibrant tapestry of colors and life, now mirrored the desolate landscape of its ravaged outskirts. Buildings stood like hollowed-out husks, monuments to the planet-eaters' relentless assault. General Volkov, his face grim and etched with exhaustion, watched from the command center, his gaze fixed on the holographic map of the conflict zone. Every flashing red dot represented a lost position, a fallen comrade. This wasn't just a war, it was a symphony of destruction, a brutal orchestration of superior force against desperate resistance. General, a young officer, his face pale, reported, "We're losing ground. Their weapons are too precise." Volkov clenched his jaw. "We knew this was a gamble," he said, his voice rough. "But Silas's artifact is our only hope." The mention of the artifact brought a flicker of hope to the eyes of the officer. It was a desperate gamble, a last stand based on the cryptic writings of an ancient civilization, a weapon said to disrupt the Planet Eater's technology. The burden of that hope, however, rested heavily on the shoulders of Captain Amelia Sharma, a woman whose stoic face masked a fierce determination. "The artifact is being prepared for activation," she reported, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "But we need to buy Kaido some time." Her eyes met Volkov's across the crowded room. He understood the unspoken question: what were they willing to sacrifice to save the artifact and, with it, their planet? "Amelia," he said, his voice laced with a somber urgency, "we fight to the last breath. We buy Kaido the time he needs." Outside, the city groaned under the weight of another attack. The Planet Eater's warships unleashed a volley of energy blasts, each one a miniature sun erupting in the sky, incinerating everything in its path. The air crackled with the smell of ozone and burning flesh. From the cockpit of his modified spacecraft, Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka watched in grim fascination as the Planet Eater's flagship, a gleaming, obsidian behemoth, moved towards his position. The artifact pulsed, a silent heartbeat in the center of his ship, its power ready to be unleashed. "Kaido," Amelia's voice crackled over the comm, "the flagship is targeting your vessel. They're preparing a concentrated energy attack." "I have a plan," Kaido responded, his voice tight, his eyes glued to the targeting systems. The artifact's power fluctuated, a chaotic symphony of energy, and Kaido, with nerves of steel, felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. "Don't try anything reckless," Amelia pleaded, but her words were lost in the symphony of destruction. Kaido was already maneuvering his vessel, using the chaotic energy field surrounding the flagship as a shield, a dangerous dance with the very forces he sought to control. The air shimmered. Kaido's ship, a tiny speck against the backdrop of the approaching behemoth, pulsed with the artifact's energy. And then, a deafening roar, a surge of energy that tore through the fabric of reality itself. A shockwave of unimaginable power rippled across the battlefield. The Planet Eater's flagship, for a brief, terrifying moment, seemed to shudder, to hesitate. Kaido, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, saw a flicker of vulnerability in the impenetrable hull. He knew this was his moment, his chance to break the symphony of destruction. But the cost, he knew, would be immense. The sky above the Pacific Ocean was a canvas of crimson and gold, the setting sun turning the waves into a molten sea. The once imposing cityscape of Los Angeles was now a skeletal silhouette against the fiery horizon, a testament to the Planet Eater's wrath. The flagship, a monstrous leviathan of metal and plasma, loomed in the distance, casting a shadow that swallowed the remaining daylight. Captain Amelia Sharma, her face streaked with grime and exhaustion, watched the unfolding chaos from the bridge of the Phoenix, Earth's last bastion of defiance. The air thrummed with the frantic static of communication channels, a symphony of desperate pleas and grim pronouncements. The planet's defenses, once a source of hope, were now crumbling under the relentless assault of the Planet Eaters. "They're pushing towards the artifact, Captain," reported Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka, his eyes glued to the tactical display. His brow was furrowed, but his voice remained steady, a testament to the relentless spirit that defined him. Amelia, her gaze fixed on the approaching flagship, felt the weight of her responsibility settle upon her like a leaden shroud. This was it. The final act, the last stand. The fate of humanity hung precariously in the balance, reliant on a weapon both powerful and uncertain. "Kaido," she said, her voice a calm counterpoint to the chaos around them. "Prepare for activation. We'll buy you as much time as we can." "Aye, Captain," Kaido replied, his fingers dancing across the control panel. His eyes, usually bright with youthful enthusiasm, were now shadowed with the gravity of their situation. This was a mission he had trained for, a mission he believed in, but the cost of failure was too terrible to contemplate. The Phoenix, despite its battered hull and depleted energy reserves, still held the last of Earth's fighting spirit. Amelia, her hands gripping the commander's chair, knew this was not a fight they could win. This was a Hail Mary, a desperate gamble on a weapon forged from the very essence of humanity. Suddenly, the tactical display flashed red. A massive energy wave, crackling with raw power, erupted from the flagship, aimed directly at the Phoenix. "Incoming energy blast! Brace for impact!" the communications officer shouted, his voice trembling with fear. Amelia, seeing Kaido's position on the bridge, realized the danger. The energy blast, if it hit the Phoenix, would not only destroy the ship, but also potentially cripple the weapon and their last chance of survival. "Kaido!" she screamed, her voice echoing across the bridge. "Evacuate, now." But Kaido, eyes locked on the tactical display, remained frozen. "Captain, I can't leave. The artifact." Amelia, her heart pounding, knew she had to act. Without hesitation, she threw herself across the bridge, shielding Kaido with her own body as the energy blast struck the Phoenix. The ship shuddered violently, the lights flickering and dying. The silence that followed was deafening. Amelia, her body throbbing with pain, opened her eyes to see Kaido staring at her, his expression a mixture of shock and gratitude. "Captain," he cried, his voice hoarse with emotion. "You." Amelia, her vision blurring, forced a smile. "Get to the artifact." "Kaido," she whispered, her voice weak but unwavering. "You have to activate it. It's our only hope." With a nod, Kaido raced towards the control room, his face etched with a determination that mirrored Amelia's own. The Phoenix might be dying, but the spirit of humanity, the essence of their collective struggle, would live on. As the darkness closed in around Amelia, her final thought was of the weapon, a beacon of hope, an echo of humanity's resilience resonating through the cosmos. The Planet Eaters might have come to devour Earth, but they had underestimated the power of human spirit, the power of unity, the power of hope. The silence after the battle was deafening. A thick pall of smoke hung low, obscuring the ravaged cityscape. The air, choked with a metallic tang of burning metal and the acrid scent of ozone, carried the weight of 1,000 shattered dreams. The Planet Eaters were gone. Amelia, her uniform singed and her eyes weary, stood on the debris-strewn rooftop, the remnants of their once proud city sprawling beneath her. Her hand, still shaking from the adrenaline rush of their final stand, rested on a metal support beam twisted by the blast. She had never seen destruction on this scale, not even in the darkest simulations. This was real. This was their world, scarred and broken. "Captain." Kaido, his face etched with exhaustion, approached her. His suit, though battered, still bore the insignia of Earth's Air Force, a symbol of defiance now more than ever. "How many?" Amelia asked, her voice a low rasp. "Reports are still coming in, but the damage is widespread," Kaido replied, his eyes scanning the horizon. "We've lost a lot." Amelia nodded, unable to speak. The losses were staggering. Entire cities lay in ruins, the casualties countless. Yet they had survived. Against all odds, Earth had prevailed. But at what cost? Silas, his face gaunt and his eyes haunted, joined them. He held a small metal disc, its surface etched with an intricate design that pulsed with a faint, ethereal glow. This was the artifact, the key to their unexpected victory. "The weapon, it seems to have scrambled their technology," Silas explained, his voice trembling. "Their ships were disabled, their weapons rendered useless. But the mechanism, it's not like anything I've ever seen." "What does it mean?" Kaido asked, his voice tight. "What happened?" I think it resonated with something," Silas said, his gaze distant. "Something deep within our history, something we've forgotten, something we've lost." He turned, his eyes meeting Amelia's, a flicker of hope igniting within them. "The weapon, it's not a weapon at all, it's a memory." Amelia's heart pounded in her chest. A memory? But what memory? What could possibly be powerful enough to cripple the Planet Eaters' technology, to turn the tide of a seemingly unwinnable war? "It's a story," Silas said, his voice gaining strength. A story that spans across continents, across cultures, across millennia. A story we share, a story that binds us together. He knelt on the rubble, reaching for a piece of metal that jutted from the broken roof. His hand brushed against the cold metal, his fingers tracing the intricate patterns. "It's the story of humanity," Silas continued, his voice filled with reverence. "It's a song we sang, a dance we danced, a story we whispered across campfires and painted on the walls of caves. A story that told of our triumphs, our losses, our endless pursuit of knowledge and understanding." Kaido, confused, looked at Amelia. "But how did it repel them?" Silas smiled faintly, his eyes reflecting the glow of the artifact. "They were driven by a hunger for planets, for resources, for expansion. But they were blind to the beauty of our story. They never understood its strength, its resilience. They didn't know that it is the only thing that truly defines us, the only thing that truly binds us." He rose, holding the artifact aloft. "This memory, it's a beacon, a testament to our existence, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we can overcome. It's a story that will continue to be told, even as we rebuild and heal." As Silas spoke, Amelia felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. The shadow of the Planet Eaters was gone, but the memory of their attack would forever remain etched in their hearts. Yet, with it, a new hope had also emerged. The hope that humanity, through its shared story, its collective spirit, could overcome any challenge, any threat. The silence returned, broken only by the distant sirens and the mournful echoes of the city's demise. But in that silence, Amelia, Kaido, and Silas felt a new kind of strength rising within them. The strength of a shared story, the strength of a united people, the strength of humanity itself. They had survived. But their journey was far from over. The echoes of the past had awakened something within them, something that promised a brighter future, a future where humanity, standing united, could build a world worthy of its story. The acrid smell of burnt metal and ozone hung heavy in the air, a stark reminder of the battle that had just concluded. The sky was a canvas of swirling smoke and debris, the remnants of the Planet Eaters' devastating assault. Earth, once brimming with life and color, now bore the scars of war, a testament to the resilience of its inhabitants. Captain Amelia Sharma surveyed the devastated landscape from the bridge of her flagship, the Vanguard. A knot of tension resided in her stomach, a feeling that wouldn't relent even after the Planet Eaters' retreat. The victory tasted bittersweet, tinged with the weight of the losses they had endured. The weapon, Silas's artifact, had worked, but at a terrible cost. "Report," Amelia barked, her voice tinged with exhaustion. "The Planet Eaters have retreated, ma'am," Lieutenant Kaido Tanaka reported, his face pale but resolute. "They haven't completely abandoned their flagship, but they're holding back, almost as if they're confused," Amelia finished, her eyes narrowed. The weapon had disrupted their technology, that much was clear. But why the hesitation, the retreat? It wasn't the typical Planet Eater tactic. "We've got communications from their flagship, ma'am," a young communications officer reported, his voice trembling. "They're transmitting a message." Amelia's heart pounded. Fear, a chilling companion, wrapped its tendrils around her soul. The Planet Eaters had never communicated before, only destroyed. What message could they possibly have that wasn't laced with venom and threat? "Play it," she ordered, her voice strained. The room fell silent as a distorted, guttural voice filled the air, its language alien yet strangely melodic. It was a message of apology, a desperate plea for understanding. The Planet Eaters, they explained, were driven by necessity, by a hunger that consumed them, a hunger that had devoured countless worlds. They hadn't intended to destroy Earth, only to consume it, to use its resources to sustain their own dying planet. But the weapon, the artifact, had disrupted their technology, leaving them stranded, vulnerable, and utterly confused. The message ended with a plea for peace, a desperate hope for understanding, and a promise to leave Earth untouched if only they could be allowed to repair their broken technology. The room exploded with murmurs of disbelief, of anger, of cautious hope. The Planet Eaters were, in a way, asking for mercy, begging to be spared. Amelia knew the risks, the potential for treachery. But the message, the vulnerability in their voice, it echoed something deep within her, something she couldn't quite grasp. "Professor Chen," she said, her voice firm, "can you run a translation on that language? See if we can understand their message fully." Silas, seated at a console, his face haggard but his eyes gleaming with renewed purpose, nodded. "On it, Captain. This language, it's peculiar, but there's a familiar rhythm to it, almost like—" His eyes widened, a flash of insight illuminating his features. "Almost like a song." "A song?" Amelia echoed, confusion clouding her face. "Yes," he exclaimed, his voice quickening. "A song from Earth's history. It's like an ancient lullaby, a song of peace and unity." Amelia stared at Silas, her mind racing. The Planet Eaters, the beings responsible for so much destruction, their language echoing a forgotten Earth song, a song of unity and peace. It felt surreal, a twisted irony that was too bizarre to grasp. "Professor," Amelia said, her voice barely a whisper, "do you think, could that be the key?" Silas met her gaze, his eyes filled with a glimmer of hope. "The key to understanding them, Captain? Perhaps. Perhaps the answer to this conflict, the answer to our survival, lies not in weapons, but in the language of our own history." A long silence descended upon the bridge, punctuated only by the rhythmic hum of the ship's engines. The answer to their survival, their future, lay hidden in the echoes of Earth's past, in a forgotten song of unity and peace. Amelia felt a flicker of hope, a spark of optimism in the face of unimaginable devastation. The Planet Eaters were not just a threat. They were a puzzle, a challenge demanding a solution that transcended weaponry and brute force. The key, it seemed, was to unlock their history, to bridge the chasm of misunderstanding with a song from their own forgotten past. The future of both Earth and the Planet Eaters, it seemed, rested on the delicate notes of a forgotten lullaby. The air hung heavy with the silence of victory. Dust choked the air, a grim reminder of the relentless battle that had just ended. The Planet Eater's flagship, a leviathan of metal and light, was now a smoldering ruin, its advanced technology reduced to a tangle of twisted metal and crackling energy. Amelia stood on the edge of the crater, surveying the scene with a mix of relief and exhaustion. Her uniform was torn and dusty, her face streaked with grime, but her eyes held a flicker of triumph, a testament to the improbable victory they had just secured. "Professor Chen," she called out, her voice hoarse. "The weapon is active. Can you tell us what it's doing?" Silas emerged from the wreckage of the orbiting space station, clutching a data pad. His face, pale and drawn, was etched with fatigue, but his eyes shone with a newfound clarity. "It's not just disrupting their technology, Captain," he answered, his voice raspy. "It's something more profound." He held up the data pad, its screen shimmering with an intricate tapestry of symbols. "This weapon, it draws upon Earth's collective history, its art, its music, its very essence. It's a symphony of human creativity, a testament to our capacity for beauty and innovation." Amelia stared at the symbols, a sense of wonder and awe washing over her. "But how is that possible?" Silas smiled faintly. "It's a weapon forged from our shared history, Captain. From the stories we tell, the art we create, the dreams we hold. It's a weapon of our spirit, our collective will to survive." The truth, when it finally arrived, was both astounding and humbling. The weapon Silas had unearthed was not a technological marvel, but an ancient artifact, a repository of human cultural heritage. It resonated with the very essence of their civilization, its energy a reflection of Earth's diverse tapestry of art, music, and storytelling. It was a weapon that had been born from the heart of humanity, a testament to their resilience and the enduring power of their spirit. Amelia felt a surge of pride, knowing that their victory had not been a simple act of brute force. It had been a triumph of human ingenuity, of the unwavering spirit of a species that had used its creativity to overcome an impossible challenge. "The Planet Eaters," she said, her voice filled with a newfound conviction. They may have come for our planet, but they never understood our true strength. We are more than just bodies and machines. We are a tapestry of stories, of dreams, of art, and that is a weapon they can never defeat." As the dust settled and the shock of victory gave way to a shared sigh of relief, Amelia could see a glimmer of hope in the eyes of her crew. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, not because of their weapons or their technology, but because of their spirit, their history, their shared humanity. They had proven, in the face of annihilation, that the power of the human spirit was a force to be reckoned with, a force that could overcome even the most formidable foes. The silence was deafening. After the pulsating energy of the weapon's activation, the eerie quiet settled like a shroud over Earth. The Planet Eater's ships, once a menacing swarm in the sky, were gone. Only a faint, shimmering trail of residual energy remained, a ghostly reminder of the threat that had nearly consumed them. Amelia stood on the bridge of her command ship, gazing at the receding trail. The weight of victory sat heavy on her shoulders. Relief mingled with exhaustion, leaving her trembling with both exhaustion and a profound sense of awe. She had witnessed the impossible, a weapon forged from the very heart of humanity's heritage, a testament to their spirit, had repelled an invasion that seemed insurmountable. Silas joined her on the bridge, his eyes filled with a quiet wonder. "It worked," he whispered, his voice hoarse. We actually did it." Amelia nodded, unable to form words. They had faced overwhelming odds, relying on a gamble that had seemed ludicrous at the time. Yet, here they were, standing amidst the wreckage of a battle they had somehow won. The weapon's effect had been more profound than they had initially understood. The artifact, a seemingly ordinary metal cube, had resonated with the collective memory of humanity's shared history. Its activation had triggered a cascade of energy ripples that disrupted the Planet Eater's technology, causing their ships to malfunction and scramble in disarray. It was a victory, but not one without a cost. The Earth was scarred, cities reduced to rubble, and countless lives lost. The air was still thick with the acrid scent of burning fuel and the lingering fear of what could have been. "We need to get to work," Amelia said, her voice firm despite a tremor in her hands. "We have a planet to rebuild." Silas nodded grimly. "And a weapon to understand." The weapon had been a desperate gamble, a solution gleaned from the depths of human history. Now, more than ever, it was vital to understand its capabilities and implications. Amelia turned towards the bridge crew, their exhaustion mirrored on their faces. "We're going to need all hands on deck. This is only the beginning." The news of the Planet Eater's retreat spread like wildfire, bringing a wave of relief to the battered cities and war-torn landscapes. Across continents, flags unfurled triumphantly, and the air filled with the sound of cheers and the distant strains of music, a symphony of human resilience. But amidst the celebrations, a chilling reality set in. The battle had not been a clean victory. One small Planet Eater ship, heavily damaged but still operational, had managed to evade the weapon's effect. It had crash-landed on a remote island, hidden from the prying eyes of Earth's surveillance systems. Amelia knew this was a dangerous development. They had driven back the main force, but a lone wolf remained, a potential threat to their fragile peace. As the world breathed a collective sigh of relief, Amelia knew their fight was far from over. The weapon had bought them time, but the threat of the Planet Eaters was not extinguished. The seeds of hope had been sown, but the battle for Earth's future had only just begun. The air, still thick with the acrid scent of burnt ozone, thrummed with a nervous energy. Months had passed since the Planet Eaters, those ravenous devourers of worlds, had been forced to retreat, leaving behind a scarred Earth, a collective sigh of relief, and a handful of their own, stranded and bewildered. Amelia stood on the balcony of the repurposed unheadquarters, the cityscape sprawling before her, a tapestry of resilience woven from the ashes of destruction. She turned, her gaze meeting Silas's, his eyes reflecting the city's flickering lights, a soft glimmer of hope in their depths. Their journey had been arduous, a tapestry of fear, loss, and the unexpected triumph of humanity's ingenuity. The weapon, forged from a shared history, a symbol of Earth's diverse cultural heritage, had been a turning point. Its power, a testament to the potential of unity, had not only saved Earth, but also offered a glimmer of hope for the future. "They're adjusting, assimilating," Silas remarked, his voice quiet, almost hesitant. He gestured towards a group of planet eaters, their strange, bioluminescent forms a stark contrast to the bustling human activity around them, yet now moving with a hesitant grace, almost tentative, as if testing the waters of this alien world. Amelia nodded, a flicker of empathy in her eyes. "They're learning," she agreed, "and we're learning too." Her gaze drifted to the young pilot, Kaido, his silhouette stark against the cityscape as he soared through the air, his modified spacecraft a beacon of hope. His daring maneuvers, his unwavering belief in humanity's potential, had been a catalyst for change, a testament to the spirit of rebellion that had ignited within them. "He's a symbol," Silas mused, his gaze mirroring Amelia's. "A reminder that even in the darkest of times, courage can bloom, hope can take root." The world had changed. The scars of the Planet Eaters' attack were etched onto the landscape, a constant reminder of the fragility of peace. Yet, out of the ashes, something new had emerged, a shared understanding, a recognition of their collective responsibility, not just to their own world, but to the vastness of the universe. The Planet Eaters, once an existential threat, were now an avenue for understanding, a chance to bridge the chasm between cultures, to learn from their own mistakes. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city, a new dawn broke over Earth. A dawn of unity, of hope, of a shared future, a fragile but tenacious tapestry woven from the threads of fear, courage, and the unwavering spirit of humanity. The Planet Eaters were no longer the only ones looking to the stars. Earth, battered but unbroken, had learned to look outwards, its gaze now filled with the promise of a brighter, more interconnected future.